to explain the changes that are happening here at MKG for specifically our MKG Kids program. Um, Let me just back up a little bit. One of the reasons that MKG is a thing is because of our kids program. And we had a lot of kids that were going to be displaced by the school that I previously had worked at. And part of the decision to open my own school was because of that. And I want to make sure that those kids had a place to train and keep growing. Over the years, it's morphed, it's changed a lot, and I've learned a lot about some things. And we had a really good thing going, and then I made some changes for what I thought were for the better. And I don't know that they were. I think they were interesting. I think they were good in some things, but I don't think they were for the better, for the best for the kids. Let me just get into a little bit of detail on that. When I first started teaching and creating the curriculum that we had initially, it was for a mixed martial arts school that was more focused on competition. At my own school, we continued with that, even though we weren't a sport-oriented school, but it still worked good for the kids program. And then Trey took over, my son, and he was running it, and that's what he knew, and that's how he was brought up. So that's what he taught. We kept the same curriculum that I developed, and then when he left to go to school, I wanted to go a different direction because I think I wanted it to be a little bit more representative of what we were as a school, meaning the arts that I taught would be a little bit different. Some of the methods that I taught would be a little bit different, and the kids would get exposed to a lot of different martial arts. And so that was my purpose, was to expose them to many different martial arts, and I thought it was a good idea at the time. One of the problems with that I found over the last two years or so was that the kids were able to recreate the drills and things that I was teaching and that I was sharing with them, and could do a pretty good job. Yeah, but the understanding of what was happening was way below what I expected, and it wasn't. And it's not their fault. It was my fault. I spent more time exposing them to things and less time reinforcing some of the foundational basics that I did before I started expanding the martial arts that they were learning. I've noticed that the kids that we have are their foundational stuff is not to a place where I think they should be, and it's not their fault. It's my fault, and so we're going to make a change that way. Also, the biggest change that we're going to make, and this is going to be, I've talked to a lot of parents already, and it seems to be all positive so far, but I haven't talked to everybody, is that we are going to break the classes up according to belt rank. And that is something that traditional martial arts schools do, and I've been very resistant to in the past for the sake of convenience for the families, and honestly for my convenience also. But it wasn't the best thing for the kids, and it's not the best thing for the school to have all of the kids in the same class for a couple of reasons. Reason number one, there are a lot of different, the longer that you train in anything, the more proficient you become at it, and the more proficient you become at it, the more they want to learn. And if we have more kids in one class, have all the kids in one class, the kids that are higher belts are feeling that they're not being challenged. And that's not a good thing. The other side of it is if we kind of push the envelope a little bit, we'll lose some of the newer kids. And they won't, like I said, they'll be able to recreate what we're doing, but they won't have the understanding of it. And that's always been something that I've wanted to make sure that was in the forefront, and I kind of lost sight of it in the efforts of exposing them to different martial arts. And then thirdly is that when we have brand new kids, they're jumping into something and they're kind of walking into that same position they are with the lower belt kids, where they're going to be they're going to be really overwhelmed, and it's going to be that much more because of the fact that they've never done martial arts before, or at least they've never done martial arts at our school before. What my changes are is that we are going to have a class that is specifically made for no belts and white belts. And they'll work on the basics that they need: footwork, stances, understanding the word, our respect, control, confidence, and perseverance, understanding that stuff, getting some basic techniques in so when we do more complicated stuff, they don't have to think about which hand to use and that kind of thing. And then we will have a beginner's class, which would be from our yellow belts to our high green belts. And that will be, again, I'm working on exactly how I'm going to break up the curriculum as far as technique wise, but that will be that group, and that'll help them focus more on refining those basics and then expanding on them to a point to where when we get into more complicated things, they again don't have to think about, you know, what jab cross, hook cross means, what a rear tie kick, what a four count is, stuff like that. That my expectations are they should know. Then we'll have an intermediate class, which will be from the blue belts to the high red belts, and then that'll be introducing a lot of things, or some of the things that I've been kind of doing now with the trapping and stuff like that, and then kind of exposing them to different arts where they can handle it, and then a brown and a black belt class where I really be preparing them for adult classes and getting them ready to join that group. That's what's going to happen. The schedule will be they will be broken up, and the class times will be shorter to make time for all those classes on the same day, so we don't have to move days. So our white belt, our no belt white belt class will be from 4 to 4:30. Our beginners classes, that's yellows to high greens, is from 4:30 to 5:15, and then also during that time, Mr. James will be running that class, but I'll be over on the side with our brown and black belt classes at 4:30 to 5:15 for the time being. And then our intermediate classes, which would be our blue belts to high red belts, would be from 5:15 to 6. Monday and Wednesday classes will be similar. The schedule will be the same. Saturday, we'll start with littles starting at 9 and going to 9:30. White no belts and white belts will be from 9:30 to 10. From 10 to 10:45 will be our beginners, so that's our yellow again our yellow belts to our high green belts. And on Saturday we'll have our blue belts through our black belts working together at that 10:45 to 11:30 time slot. That'll be how the schedule's going to shake out, and it's going to be a little less convenient for some that have siblings in both classes, but I really think in the long run that it's going to be beneficial for the kids. So this is something that traditional martial arts schools have done forever, and I was just very resistant to anything that traditional martial arts schools have done in the past. But there's a reason that they're successful with working with their kids, and I want to borrow in true JKD fashion, borrow what's useful and discards what's useless, and add what's specifically my own. So I'm going to borrow the belt organization and class organization, and then add what's specifically MKG, and get rid of the things that don't necessarily fit with our DNA. Last thing that I want to point out with the curriculum is that with this new organization, grappling is going to be one of those things that's not going to be in the curriculum until a brown and black belt. Maybe in the intermediates we may learn a couple of takedowns, but in general, grappling or jiu-jitsu will be left for something for the brown belts and the black belts. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that, and one of the reasons I held on to it is because the kids enjoy it. They really do like the grappling side. One of the reasons I have to get rid of it is because I'm planning on teaching a lot of the kids' classes, and in my current state and my kind of fragile with my back and all that kind of stuff, I don't think that it's best physically for me to do it. And if I'm teaching it by myself, it'll be difficult for me to demonstrate with the smaller kids, being that I'm such a big guy. So, same thing with Mr. James. He's such a big young man that it'll be hard to demonstrate. Lastly, I think it's good for just being more inclusive with our program. If I'm frank, honestly, we lose a lot of young ladies when they get to a certain age that just it isn't comfortable for them anymore and they don't want to do it. And having daughters myself, I've seen that, and having them both really, really enjoy grappling and then get to a certain age where they really, really didn't enjoy grappling. Um, and I don't want to discourage anyone from training martial arts. And so if we move some things around and maybe put the grappling later in the brown and the higher ranking, the black belts and beyond, um, I think at that point they'll be mature enough and understand everything well enough to be able to deal with the grappling concepts. And then also it'll be easier for me to work with them um, and be able to kind of explain what I want and then have them find it as opposed to really having to get down and demonstrate. So those are some of the changes that are being made. I know this is a long video, but I just wanted to get it out there so you heard it from me. And if I didn't get a chance to talk to everybody, this is an opportunity for me to explain myself. Um, but I honestly am excited about the opportunity to break up the belt levels, revamp the curriculum to give the kids a lot more repetitions on the things that are important of what they need. You guys are a great family. I mean, our MKG Madison family has been fantastic through all the changes. I'm very proud of the retention we have with our families and how understanding you guys are. And I'm very thankful and blessed by that. So I'm hoping that you hearing the words and understanding why the changes are there will make the transition, if there's any bumps in the road, make it easier to understand why I'm doing it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to call me or text or email us or Facebook message us about it. But those are the changes that have to be made to um, to our program. Hopefully this makes sense. I know it's a long video, but I just wanted to have you hear it from my mouth as opposed to when I type because I don't want things to get misunderstood, and I want you to understand my heart behind it. That it's always for the kids. I'm always doing things to help make sure the kids are cared for, loved, and given what they need, um, and to become more peaceful, more functional members of society because they're what our future will be. So, if you have any questions, please just get a hold of me and we can talk about it and make sure that you understand and that we can move forward. So, with that said, I hope you guys have a great day. I will talk to you at the gym. Train safe, train hard, and have fun.